Hi folks, this is your MWIS Planning Outlook looking into the weekend and beyond. There's a good deal of dry weather in the forecast with high pressure nearby. Some rain in west and northwest Scotland during the middle of this week. Strong winds as well for a time here. Temperatures though increasingly warm as the air comes up from the south through the later stages of the week and into the weekend. The general weather pattern for this week through to next Monday shows a bump of high pressure around the British Isles and higher than average pressure in general. The jet stream is steering away up towards Iceland. That just allows that warm south to southwesterly airflow to move in. That will draw in some low cloud though across those western mountains with some humidity in the atmosphere, but the overall pattern is a fairly settled one. The weather charts for the days ahead look like this. Wednesday sees high pressure centred over England and Wales. We've got some fronts toward the northwest and that moving in to western Scotland with some rain. Initially patchy but turning more persistent around Skye, in particular through the afternoon and onwards into the evening, staying pretty wet across many western mountains. Some patchy light rain extending further east across the Highlands during the evening but not amounting to a great deal. An increasingly windy day across much of Scotland. Gales developing over the higher mountains towards the northwest and gusting in excess of 50 or 60 miles per hour from Skye up the west coast to about Ben Hope, so a rather turbulent day in this part of the world. England and Wales seeing lighter winds overall, some mist and fog patches around, some banks of cloud around some hill slopes, especially near to the Irish Sea early in the day. Will tend to lift and break with some sunshine around. Thursday sees those fronts still toward the north of Scotland and still relatively weak features, but could be enough to give some further periods of rainfall across those western mountains, mostly north from Mull up to Skye and the far north across western areas. That rain tending to fizzle out though during the morning, so it's just patchy drizzly showers into the afternoon, but it leaves a legacy of low cloud, those western coastal mountains struggling in the fog much of the day. It may just start to break a bit around Loch Lomond and Arran. Higher cloud bases further east across the Cairngorms. Here a few spits and spots of light rain but mostly dry, and some cloud breaks developing towards higher tops. Mostly lighter winds by this stage, could still be a bit gusty around some northwestern mountains for a time. England and Wales under the high sees light winds, some early mist patches clearing and the hills generally in the clear. On Friday, high pressure is still nearby and it's a mostly dry story with some sunshine, but do expect some hazy high-level cloud. Some lower banks of cloud could shroud some western coastal mountains in Scotland again with that southwesterly airflow off the Atlantic. Enough for an odd drizzly shower at times in these parts of the world. The cloud tending to lift and break a little bit through the daytime. An isolated risk of an afternoon shower further north and east across the Highlands as well, but most will stay dry. Some gusty winds also again toward that western coast, otherwise mostly low wind speeds and feeling pleasantly warm in the sunshine. High pressure is centred around Scandinavia into the weekend, still broadly influencing the British Isles though, the air coming up from the south or southeast, so feeling pleasantly warm again. Locally gusty once more near to the west coast around Skye, but otherwise mostly low wind speeds. Dry with some sunshine, some hazy high cloud in there again, and a low risk of an isolated shower. The model here picks up on something over northern England, but many places are more likely to stay dry all the way through. Just a greater risk of one or two showers popping up during Sunday daytime, an odd heavy burst of rain possible later in the afternoon. Many places should avoid these though and staying dry with some hazy high cloud and sunshine once again. A gustier south to southeasterly wind though is likely, but it will stay on the warm side. Low pressure is out over the Atlantic and many indications see that drifting down toward the Bay of Biscay by the start of next week. Could just be a front toward the northwest that drapes its way in by the time we approach Monday though. Forecast confidence is relatively low in the early days of next week as we're back into a slow-moving springtime weather pattern with weak zones of low pressure drifting around, one towards Iceland, the other away toward the south, perhaps the main feature. A front draped between the two could give some rainfall for a time, the risk of some heavy or even thundery showers breaking out in places. Fair to say that the early days of next week have that greater risk of something a bit more unsettled for a time. Temperatures still on the mild side, some variable amounts of cloud in the forecast. If there is rain around, it'll be fairly extensive over the mountains. An easterly wind pattern trying to develop as that low pulls away toward the south, and maybe still hanging on to a slow-moving front somewhere in the mix, but all very questionable in terms of local details. A complicated weather map for that week as a whole. The pressure patterns staying with low pressure toward the south. High pressure is around Scandinavia to the north, and high pressure over the Atlantic as well. Those two features could try and join together to the north of Scotland and allow that low to become cut off further southwards towards France and Spain. An east or southeasterly airflow pattern is likely, with the air being drawn up originally from the Mediterranean, so staying on the warm side. And with that airflow pattern, it would mean that Western Scotland would fare the best of all, in shelter to the lee of the West Highlands, the warmest of temperatures and the best of the sunshine. More eastern parts could draw in low cloud at times off the North Sea, and further south, nearer to low pressure, you have the greater risk of some showers. Keep up to date with forecasts then to see how things develop during the days ahead. I'll leave you with that for today. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.